Is Minamoto going to be meta in 2022? In this video, we're going to get a look at video footage and battle reports courtesy of Kingdom 606 and Akina, where they have the bamboo flute unlocked on Minamoto. So they tested him out in a rally context paired with XY battling into meta Garrisons. Zeno battling into Jad YSS. I mean, it is fairly remarkable how well Minamoto does, so stick around in this video for our analysis of these reports and why he is performing shockingly well for being a VIP commander. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video, sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, we're going over why it is that these Minamoto reports are actually really good, and of course we'll go over the reports and the footage as well. But before we do that, I just want to point out that the exhibits in the museum landed just yesterday, and each exhibit gets more and more expensive. People are starting to play around and test, and someone from my kingdom actually unlocked the Charles Martel exhibit. They did some testing, and they actually promptly refunded their exhibit. I think you can, like, return it. You don't get back your relics, which is kind of a pain in the butt that you lose your relic coins, but you do get back your exhibit coins. GG. So people are starting to test and play around with these different relics to figure out which ones are good. And in Kingdom 606, they took a look at Minamoto. Now, why would Minamoto be strong? First of all, the amount of buff that he's getting is absolutely insane. 20% defense and 25% attack for cavalry. Just for perspective, that would be like on top of all of the equipment that you put onto the commander if you went in and gave them a KVK sword worth of stats, and also another 20% of stats, except defense, which is even better than the attack that you'd get from the Rifle of the Hellish Wasteland. So it's like 2 weapons on top worth of goodness, and that is a ridiculous amount of stats. For those of you that didn't know, like, equipment is insanely important in swaying a report one way or another. But you may be wondering, Chisgule, why Minamoto? Like, what is he doing that is strong? And actually, Minamoto has always been very strong as a commander. His kit is pretty good, but he was just missing the raw stats like you get from Season of Conquest commanders to really compete, which is why giving him 45% of stats is so nuts. What Minamoto does is gives a 10% chance to increase the damage taken by 30%. That is a very powerful debuff. 30% damage taken for 3 seconds. Oh, by the way, and that can trigger every 5 seconds. That is a very powerful debuff. And also, his single target damage is absolutely insane. Now, he has no anti-swarm technology whatsoever. And even though one of his skills is for battling barbarians, as you will see in these reports, it's going to go pretty well for the Minamoto. And I just want to call out the fact that these reports that we're about to look at are not reinforced rallies. I have some of the talent builds that I'll throw in toward the end of the video, and any build that I didn't have will be in my Discord server, discord.gg/Chisgule. The link will be in the description, so you can go check that out. But let's go now and get a look at these reports to see how shockingly well, I mean, it's Minamoto, how well he does battling into meta garrisons. First up is XYC battling into Zeno YSS, compared to XY with Minamoto. Now, look, I want to call attention to the fact that we're looking at 2 reports. What we could be seeing is one really bad report for the XYC and one really good report for the XY Minamoto. However, I still think it's helpful to just get a sense of approximately how it might perform. Alternatively, this might be just like a really bad report for the Minamoto, and in the future he does like really, really well. So in this series of reports, XYC takes 194,000 sevs, and the Zeno YSS takes 228,000 sevs. However, the XY Minamoto has 207,000 sevs, which would be dead troops in a KVK context, and the Garrison has 204,000 sevs. So in this case, the XYC still did better. However, it is a really, really good report for Minamoto. Like, in the grand scheme of things, that's really impressive. Like, I would consider, if I don't have Chandragupta, right? If I had XY, and for whatever reason we were deciding that against the Garrison we were rallying into, we really needed calves. I mean, I would consider busting out the Minamoto if I had the Relic on him, which, you know, I don't. Now, as far as the equipment goes, however, the equipment is actually really impressive, and I need to step out of the way so you can see the full picture here. The cav gear is almost entirely talented. In fact, it is entirely talented. GG. With the exception of the accessories, they've got the KVK helmet talented, the KVK sword talented. They've got the set chest and legs, and they've got Navarre's control and Ash the Dawn. I would build the XY combos exactly this way. Now, on the Zenobia, they've got insanely good gear. I mean, they've got infantry set for gloves and boots, talented. They've got Hope Cloak and Eternal Night, talented. They've got KVK weapon, talented. KVK helmet, not talented, but ring is talented. And they do have a Vengeance, which is a good item to use if you think your Garrison's going to get swarmed. And, like, by the way, it is the meta to swarm Garrisons in KVK for sure. However, I think that a Horn would be better. But here's the thing. In this test that we're looking at, what's important here is the fact that the Garrison was using the same gear and same talents in every test. Okay? The Rally is using the same talents and same gear in every test. So I think this is a shockingly close report in the grand scheme of things. However, I think that in this instance, the XYC is still the slight winner, but that could just be randomness. One last thing I feel very obligated to say is that from a Garrison standpoint, YSS is going to perform much better when you have a reinforced Rally and Garrison, like a long-running Rally, because of the 20% all damage that he gets. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at this, that I think the Zeno and YSS would be more performant in KVK when you can actually have that buff from the start of the fight if there are low health marches in the Garrison. And you had better believe that 20% all damage is a life-changing amount of damage dealt. So just keep that in mind. What's important here is not like who wins Rally or Garrison, but more like how does the XY Rally with Chandra do compared to the XY Rally with Minamoto, okay? So let's go to the next report. Now we've got the XYC battling into Jad YSS and the XY Minamoto battling again into Jad YSS, which is a great Garrison in KVK. I actually really like the anti-swarm that YSS brings, and Jadwiga is a fine primary, and it lets you use your calves. So in this series of reports, 167,000 for the XYC Rally and 187,000 for the Garrison. However, outperforming it is the XY with Minamoto. Wow. 170,000 to 203,000. So, look, this is close enough that it could just be randomness. But if you can rally a Jad YSS Garrison with XY Minamoto, like, yes, a lot more people are going to be able to launch that rally. And if it does moderately well, like we see here, that's pretty impressive in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I guess you'd rather use a Pakal Herald into the Jad YSS, and the swarmability of the Minamoto Rally is concerning, but if we just look at the gear real quick, the Cav gear is the same for the Rally, which is down here right next to me, but up top, we've got the Cav gear of the Garrison, which is really good. They've got the Horn talented, which is great against a single Rally, not as good against a Swarm. They've also got the set chest and boots, Ash and Navarre's, all of it's talented. They've got the set weapon and helmet, both talented. Absolutely phenomenal sets of gear here, and roughly equivalent in terms of power level. I think that the XY set is slightly stronger, but again, we're not comparing in the grand scheme of things, can the Rally beat the Garrison, as much as we're comparing one Rally versus another Rally, both using the same gear. Up next is the Archer meta. XYC and XY Minamoto battling into Amani and Artemisia. 140,000 to 205,000. XYC is crushing Amani and Artemisia, and the fight is much, much closer and not in favor of Minamoto. XY Mina into Amani Artemisia is about even. Now, could just be randomness, right? There's a lot of randomness in these fights. However, if we just get a quick look at the Archer gear, this is some pretty impressive gear here. It is the full Archer set, talented, Ring and Horn. I mean, I love those gear choices, quite frankly. So I don't think that Minamoto does as well comedically against the archers, which I would have expected them to do better. But in this report, man, the XY and Chandragupta held their title. Now, we've got one last pair of reports here to go and get a look at, and that is going to be a Minamoto Garrison. And I just want to caution you for a moment and say that, like, I would not recommend a Minamoto Garrison, but these results are going to be very interesting to you. I also want to say that if this Garrison were getting swarmed, it would get pwned pretty hard compared to the YSS. So what's interesting is that XY Chandragupta lost to Jadwiga Minamoto. Like, what? What? And XY Minamoto also lost to Jadwiga Minamoto. Now, keep in mind, when we compare these results to the Jad YSS results, the 20% all damage is life-changing, and that wasn't there for the majority of the report like it would be in a KVK situation. These are not reinforced rallies. However, just like Jadwiga and Saladin can be used in a Garrison, and I don't love it, but like in a crisis you could, it does seem like if you threw Minamoto in there as a secondary, it's not as bad as you might have thought it would be, unless they swarm it, which is probably the answer, because Minamoto offers you literally nothing to deal with a swarm other than a teeny amount of defense from the Relic. Now, you've seen the gear on these commanders already. This is the same gear that we were looking at earlier for the Cavs, all right? Absolutely insane. The possibilities for Minamoto in this new world are truly shocking. And does he belong in a murder ball? I mean, let's just go back to his skills real quick. In my perfect world, every commander in a murder ball brings some amount of utility, or even a lot of utility. In fact, I make great sacrifices to bring in commanders like Trajan and Ethelfled, whose primary role is utility, okay? Now, with that said, I think that Minamoto could have a spot in people that are just making their way in the Season of Conquest, which is exactly what the museum is designed to do. The only thing that I don't love about the way that the museum is designed to operate, it would seem, is that in order to get access to a lot of this stuff, I just don't know how much you can do free to play before you actually are battling in your first Season of Conquest battle. So you still need to pay your way to accelerate to actually get these things rapidly. But it is nice that at least these commanders that you're getting from gold keys over time can be elevated or rapidly can be elevated with spending. My preference would obviously be that everybody could get access to this stuff very quickly, 100% free to play, grinding something in game that would give you lots of relics or exhibit coins. So with all that said, which commander do you want to see next? I feel like Minamoto was shockingly strong. And there is really some twisted part of me that wants to see, like, I don't know, could you actually break Charlemagne? Probably not. More realistically, I'm kind of looking to Mulan to see, hey, like, could she be really quite strong now in the open field? I felt like she's always been kind of a bit of a punching bag, and the main differentiator is hopefully you really wanted the mobility that she's offering. But leave a comment down below with your thoughts on who should be tested next for a video. And I'll try to find somebody who's got access to those commanders. In fact, if you have unlocked any of the relics and you want to showcase some of your testing or help me out, definitely get in touch with me on Discord, discord.gg/Chisgule. One thing I did want to touch on at the end of this video is that now I've got a hold of the XY talents. And I will point out that in my perfect world, and I know that not everyone agrees with this, I probably would go for Feral Nature over here for the extra rage, because you really, really, really want to increase your chances that XY is going to do his active skill when Chandragupta's 40% all damage boost is active. And so anything you can do to get rage seems very worth it to me. So I would make some great sacrifices in this build to go and get the extra rage gen. I know not everybody agrees with that for what is the meta XY rally build, but that personally is the route that I would go. And then also I've got a picture here of the Amani build, which I think is solid. This is very similar to what I would be using. And as soon as I've got the Jadwiga screenshots and the Zeno screenshots for what those builds are, they'll be on my Discord. So I'll see you there. And until next time, You have fun smashing your enemies.